Welcome to day 4, number 122 with the man Frank Scalish.
122.
Double deuce.
We're doing it, man. We're making shows.
How are you doing today, Uncle Frank?
I'm doing okay. Can't complain.
Recorded show today. We've had a couple of the past recorded shows. We've had a banger frog show.
Absolutely.
A banger frog show. And like I said, it's amazing. I have yet to weigh in a tournament fish on a frog. But that's got to change at some point.
It's not that I can't believe
on a hollow-bodied frog.
A hollow-bodied frog. It's not that I can't believe that. But I kind of can't believe that.
Neither can I. And here's the crazy thing. When I was covering the Elite Series tournaments, went to every single one. You know, I wasn't fishing. I was getting paid to go cover the day. Roomed with Dean Rojas for 7 consecutive years, every single event. Was on the water with him, half of them, like doing practice videos and documentation and stuff.
Wow.
And I've never weighed in a tournament fish on a hollow-bodied frog.
And you saw the master in action.
I did. Now, I do fish the Harris chain in Florida the first week of October to wrap up the open season.
Oh, that could be your first.
Could be my first.
It could be.
It could be my first.
Although I'd be throwing a Super Spook Junior, but
yeah, that too. How about we might have to chat about that a little bit later on. But you don't want to give up all the secrets, do we?
No, we don't.
Speaking of secrets, though, we are going to give up some today. A little bit of a show that encompasses all of the warm water shows that you have done over the past 2+ years. And Correct. It's kind of structure fishing secrets, but a little bit more in depth, tying multiple shows together into one show today. I'm excited. I've seen some of the pictures. I've seen some of the diagrams that are going to be in today's show, and this one is packed full of information.
It is. You know, the coolest thing is that I do a lot of map work before I go to the lake. I have a ridiculous ability to look at a map and go here, 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 and here when it comes to structure fishing. And most of the time, out of the places that I pick, some of them are going to be big producers. It's just the way I structure fish, so I know exactly what I'm looking for.
A little bit of a Goodwill Hunting vibe going on there. I just see a map. Sometimes I just see a math equation halfway done,
and I just know how it ends. Yeah, just finish it.
That's how you are. You look at a topo map. It's just beacons of just flashing lights. Fish here.
Right. But
that's because of experience.
Right. It's a lot of years of experience, to be honest with you. Like I had a friend of mine call me the other day. Well, I say the other day, it was a couple of weeks ago. He was going to this lake and he said, "Hey, can you go over a map with me?" And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we went over the maps and we were looking at stuff, and I had some real obvious stuff there that, honestly, it was super obvious. And then I saw some things that were like really sneaky. And I'm like, you got to look at this. When you go there, you have to look at this because there's something going on there. And I said, send me pictures. So he goes to the lake and he checks out a couple of spots, and some of them were producing, some of them weren't, which is just the nature of structure fishing. He goes, "You know your sneaky spot?" And I go, "Yeah." And he sends me a picture of the map where I showed him that spot, and then he sends me pictures of like 4-pound largemouth. And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, right on." So that story is basically, I'm going to show you guys how to do this stuff.
I like
it. And we're going to talk about, Matt and I are going to talk about using all your surrounding environment to help you find things underwater. Also, certain trees could deem certain things depending on where you find them. So this is what we're going to go through today. Little teaser, but we're on the way. I don't even know where to start now.
The beginning.
There's there's no beginning. All I have is a bunch of maps.
Well, just pull up the first map and we'll go from there.
Okay, so the first map,
because I got some photos. You tell me when to put this photo up, because we had, in preparation for the show, folks, I'm not going to lie, we had this pulled up on Google Earth, and then I saved Frank's bacon.
There's some information that I didn't want revealed.
Yes, and I was like, hey, you know, people can tell where this is based on this. And he's like,
get rid of that.
We're not showing that anymore. So we took the photo out. So now it's just an indistinguishable body of water. Correct. Somewhere on the East Coast.
So this map I'm going to show you is an actual place that I absolutely plastered them on. I won't say the lake, but it's not here. It's not in Ohio for sure. And anyone in Ohio, when they see this map, will know it's not here. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is when I see a topographical map, there's certain things I want in one area. So I'm going to look for intersections of river channels, both main and secondary. I'm going to look for flats. I'm going to look for places with high spots on those flats. If I can find it in a tight area, I'll be able to hit all of that in a very short amount of time to see what the bass are holding on, and then I could branch out from there. So on this particular lake, what stood out to me was this cut off the main river channel, the second little cut off the main river channel, the high spot in between.
That's a really high spot, isn't it? Like 6 foot?
Yes. So this high spot, these two cuts intrigued me. So that's what started getting me there. But then I noticed this. On this river bend, I noticed this. I have a deep high spot and I have a shallow high spot. The deeper one, the shallower one. I got a secondary gut that runs through here, secondary river channel. Now, here's something that I have to bring to your attention. These outside edges here, because they're actually on a turn. If I zoomed out on the map, you would see this is in a bend. More likely than not, anytime you have structural elements that are on bends, like here, I'll show you this one too, even though this is for something else, this bend right here.
Yep.
Okay. What that's telling you is that's probably going to be hard rock bottom, because if it wasn't, it would not still be there because of all the current flow going over them.
It would have eroded it and it would have been gradual.
Right. It would have been just a sand bump or a mud bump. So anyhow, so I come over here and I start my fishing on this edge here. Typical me. I got 2 deep crankbaits, 2 Carolina rigs, and a football jig. And I really catch them good right here. I catch them really good right here on this spot, and I catch them really good right here. So I said,
is this in theory, or you actually did this?
This is actually the truth.
Okay.
This is actually a spot that I have on a.
All right. This makes it even better. All right.
And so then I bumped across the river and I went and I checked this out. And I wasn't catching them over here until I got to here. And then I started casting up. Can you see this? Am I on the page?
You're dead nuts on the top high spot.
I started catching them on this top high spot here. Yep. Then I positioned my boat back here and started casting
to the deeper high spot,
parallel on top of the deep high spot, and started catching them. This little area here yielded me 24 pounds of largemouth.
Good Lord.
It was unbelievable.
That rules Norman out of the equation.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Norman. And so what I want you to focus on this particular map is how close all this is. This literally, if I put my bass boat on plane, I'd have to shut down before I got fully on plane because I'd be right here
Then
already.
you got 6 spots right there.
Right, 100%. And they all produced. This didn't produce anything.
Mm-hmm.
The straight edge produced 0. It was just the guts, the high spot in the middle of the guts, this high spot, and this high spot. Those were the only producers in this whole area. But I used that to take me through the rest of the lake and catch fish in places on the rest of the lake. Because what I did was I zoomed out on my map, I saw how the river channel bent, and then I went and looked at the next river channel bend, and I picked the same locations out on each of the river
Mm-hmm.
channel bends. And at the end of my practice time, I had 5 or 6 areas like that I can go catch them on. And that's how I broke down this giant lake. This lake is like 192 miles of runnable water.
Good
So
Lord.
it wasn't a small body of water. So that's the main key when you look at a map. That's the main thing I look for. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is you hear people all the time, they go, well, I was fishing a foundation.
Yeah.
An old barn foundation or an old house foundation. I'm going to show you the highest percentage places to look for these items. Okay. This is a really good trick, because when you start doing this, you're going to freak out how many old barn or house foundations
that you find that aren't even on
they're not on maps. They're not anywhere. This is a really good trick, and it took me a lot of years to figure this out. So this map here, I just call foundations. All right. If you notice, I got the main deep river channel that runs on here. I'm trying to see, it'll obviously come out here and turns around and then comes back up here.
Yep.
So there's obviously a turn over there. So here's the key. One of the keys is the roadbed that zigzags through this thing, because if there's roads, there's some buildings. The other key, and the main key, is you see how flat it is?
Mm-hmm.
Your foundations are going to be on the flat stuff. Most people won't build houses on a steep hill. Like, they're not going to build a house here. That's almost a bluff wall underwater.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to see a house here. But where it starts to flatten out, this is the area that you're going to find these foundations in, on all these flat spots. So if I'm in a quest, like let's say I know that the bass are 6 to 12 feet deep, I'm going to look for flats, big, long, wide areas of flats and with roadbed intersections on them. And that's where I'm going to start looking for foundations. Now, obviously, there could be good elements to the roadbed itself, where the roadbed's still intact, has concrete on them, et cetera, dollars to a donut that this one here actually has a bridge on it right there, where the
I got you, where it goes over a creek.
Right, where it goes over a creek. This probably has a bridge on it over here. And so that's how I'm going to begin looking for my foundations. And so when I'm looking for foundations, most of that work is going to be done on side imaging, because you can cover bigger swaths of water. So I'll parallel the road first before I start crisscrossing here. Before I start doing all this on the flat,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to parallel the road.
Just like you're driving it in a vehicle or a covered wagon.
In a covered wagon. Because if I'm lucky enough to find parts of that road, a lot of roads are built up to the road. So you've got rock, riprap, possible bridges, embankments. If somebody laid a driveway down and there's a runoff ditch next to the driveway, there'll be a solid concrete foundation there. So that's how you're going to find these foundations, homes or culvert pipes, ditches, et cetera, et cetera.
Dumb question.
No question is dumb.
This one might be pretty dumb. But explain to me and to our listeners how foundations end up underwater. Like, how do these things end up in 6 to 10 to 15 to 20 feet of water? What exactly they are and how old they are.
Okay, so first and foremost, you're not going to find foundations offshore in natural lakes.
Okay.
You're only going to find them in reservoirs. Any man-made lake is going to have them. So what they do is, when they flood the valley, when they
So you have a
decide
river that's going through that's
river
going
runs through it,
through a valley with
right?
floodlands around it and everything.
Like the TVA chain of
Yep.
lakes is a perfect
Which
example.
they did that after, was it one of the world wars, to stimulate the economy and to do
Correct.
for the electricity and
That's true. So what they do is they go in and they'll clear cut a lot of it,
mm-hmm. A forest.
a forest. They'll clear cut some of the forest. Sometimes they leave the trees standing. If they have an elevation and they know those trees are going to be 20 feet underwater, they'll leave them. Anything that's shallower, they'll cut them down. Sometimes they take them down to
Mm-hmm.
the dirt. Sometimes they just cut them down and there's, 4 foot tall
Right.
stumps down there. And so the roads, obviously, they leave the roads
Yep.
because they're going to use those roads while they clear cut, while they clean the area out to be flooded. So they leave the roads. The houses they usually destroy, but
But the houses are, you're sitting there, you're living there with your wife and your 9 kids, and you're got your ox and you're plowing your fields, and all of a sudden someone comes by and says, "Hey,
you're
you
going to want
have
a boat."
yeah, you have a month to get out of here. We're damming up this stretch of river."
Pretty
That's
much.
basically how it goes too, right? I mean, there's some that are towns, there's some that
Right.
have cemeteries under it, and the
Right.
state basically says you got a month to get out, or
Right.
however long it is. And most of these are kind of older. So,
Right. We're relocating you.
yeah, relocating you, because where you currently live, where your town is, or where your farmhouse is, or whatever, is going to be part of this new lake that is going to be better for the state and bring in more, and for the country, or generate electricity or something. So that's
Exactly. That's exactly right.
what are
For
you
lack of
laughing?
a better word, build a canoe. You're going to need it. And so anyway, so what
That's
they'll
a
do
nice
is
jalopy, but I
right.
traded in
So
for a boat.
that's right. So they'll take things that are pollutants away.
So
Like
that's why there's always a foundation and not a damn house there.
correct.
Okay, I didn't
Because
realize that. That
yeah,
makes sense now. They don't just flood the whole thing. They clear it before they flood it.
correct. So they'll take the pollutants away,
Okay.
which will be your insulation, your roofs, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. They pull all that crap out, but they leave the concrete and the brick foundations because they're not going to do anything.
Yep.
That's why when you find them, it's always like a rectangle or a
Yes. A hole
partial
in the middle.
broken wall, or yeah, exactly. And so that's basically what you're looking for. So you have to think when you're on the lake, what was this place looking like before it was filled with water? And that's how anytime I see a map of a lake, that's how I envision it, completely bone dry. There was a great show on I might have been Discovery or History Channel where it was called Drain the Lakes. And they showed you the lake, and then they, with computer animation, they sucked the water out of the lake and then showed you, huge structural elements that are famous to certain lakes, et cetera, et cetera. Um, to me, that was a fascinating program. I wish they would still do it with all kinds of different lakes, but they just did the Great Lakes. So anyway, so you picture the thing before it's flooded. That gives you a really good idea of what you're looking at. Um, Deer hunters have an uncanny ability to understand topography because as a deer hunter, your deer move through the woods almost exactly like bass use the same topography underwater, ridge lines, high spots, feeding flats, et cetera, et cetera. The behavior is very similar. It's kind of bizarre, but it's very similar. Um, so that's the foundation part. That's how we're looking for foundations. Now, one of the easiest, probably the easiest thing on earth on any lake is bluffs. Bluffs are easy to spot. They're easy to see. Now there are underwater bluffs that occur.
Can we pause just for a minute?
Yes.
I'm going to show this real quick.
Oh, good. I like when you do this, man.
Here, I gotta screenshot it and take the coordinates out of it. So continue on bluff.
Should I keep going with bluffs or should I
keep
go
going
back?
with bluffs and then we'll go back?
Okay, so I said some bluffs are underwater. So if we go back to our first map, the underwater bluff here is this spot here and this spot here. The contour lines are super tight together. That's a vertical drop on a map. That is super steep. So that's an underwater bluff. It's way offshore, but it's still a bluff. So when you go back to the bluffs on the mainland, you got your map. This is what the bluff looks like on the mainland. You could be driving down the lake, you could see them. They're easy bluff wall. Well, the high percentage spots on the bluff wall are the bluff ends. Both ends of the bluff are high percentage spots. So I always start on the bluff ends. It's just they're super high percentage. Are you cutting in with the photo or not yet?
Yeah, you want to go back to it?
Go back to your photo, and then I'll go back to the bluffs.
This is Western. This is Wicked. I think this is the right one.
Oh, there it is. Sweet.
That is on a lake in Oklahoma that I've caught fish off of. And you can see it's on a point right there. And that is your foundation.
That is right a really good foundation.
And that, so this part you can actually barely see when the water's at normal pool, and the rest of the stuff is always underwater. And there's like a little bit here. There's like a concrete slab here. There's a concrete slab here. Maybe probably an outhouse or a who knows what it would be, but that is
or a concrete.
And it's on a long flat that then drops off into the channel this way about 50 yards.
Perfect.
That's exactly what you were talking about.
Exactly what I'm talking about. That concrete pad was probably for a outbuilding.
Right here?
The concrete, was probably for a barn or an outbuilding.
Yep. And then there's also one here.
Yeah, they just pour them on flat pads. That's fabulous.
Last time I rolled up on that, I rolled up and there were 5 to 7 inch gizzard shad just frantically jumping out of the water. And what they were doing was they were hitting this wall as they swam across this flat. And they were just, I thought they were getting busted. They weren't.
They were just playing.
They were just playing, Uncle Frank.
Were just playing.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut off the bluff but
no.
When I saw that, I was like, that has to be shown.
Oh, that's money, dude. That's money in the bank. So we're on to the bluffs. We know the bluff ends are high percentage. Most of the time, the sheer bluff is not going to be nearly as good unless it's got standing timber on it or unless there's other things going on, which is what I'm about to show you now. So this is a continuation of that bluff. So what you notice here is there's all these indentations on this bluff. Oh, I'm upside down. There's all these indentations on this bluff. Okay, these are broken bluff walls. So what happens here is these are on a map, it looks straight. But if you were to see topography on this is probably a cave-in over here where it's like a little fissure stream, probably eroded it down. Same thing with this one here. This one and this one are probably rock slides where the bluff caved in a little bit and stuck out. So these are the high percentage spots on straight bluff walls. Cave-ins like this usually have brush piled in the bottom of them because natural brush, because anything that's on top of this ridge that falls will fall into those areas. These that stick out like this are rock slides. So where the bluff crumbles down and falls out, so now you've got these rock outcroppings on the bluff. And so now you've got a current break, hard cover, little ways down, you got, trees, brush, et cetera, et cetera. This section here, and I keep doing that because I can't see my computer. I also caught them here really good. These are actual spots that I fished. I actually caught them along here insanely good.
On Table Rock Lake.
It's a Table Rock. How'd you know? Because I have it on there. On Table Rock Lake right here.
Yeah.
This little blue stuff that you see sticking out here.
Yep.
Made it even better, because what happened was the bluff came down, then there was a shelf that came out, then it dropped off that shelf.
Yeah.
So that was an insane area for me.
That's good stuff.
It was really good. And so basically the bluff ends, and then right after the opening, the rest of the bluff continued. So it was the opening and then the rest of the bluff continued.
So the key also seems to be with me, with everything that you showed, is you want 2 or 3 things happening at once.
Absolutely. That is the key. I want to have some diversity in the area that I'm fishing, so I have options. Once you start to narrow down, like if I only caught fish in the sections that were washed out with all the timber,
mm-hmm.
I could literally put my boat up on plane, run down the lake, and see 50 of those places as I'm running down the lake. So then I could run the pattern. A lot of times when I'm fishing this way, I'm running the pattern, especially if it's visible, like bluff ends, bluff walls. I run the pattern. All bluff ends aren't created equal. So when you fish a bluff end and you catch fish on it, you need to dissect that. Did it come down, flatten out, drop again? Was there isolated rock piles on it? You have to look at what's going on that bluff end, so you could key in on it. So if you notice, so we're doing a lot of visible, a lot of stuff as we can see as we're running down the lake. Some stuff you can't see as you're running down the lake. You have to look at your topo map, and of course the foundations you can't see. You have to look at the topo map to see it. So now, that being said, let's talk about something else you could see: road beds. Okay, road beds are on a lot of the maps that we have today. Road beds used to be on paper maps. Back in the day, I used to get a geological survey map. It's called a 7.5 minute map. And it was 1 foot increments of the topography before they flooded the lake.
That sounds helpful.
Oh, sick helpful. So you could use a compass and a protractor, get numbers, and you could figure out where all this stuff is at home, drinking a beer, sitting down at your kitchen table.
Like if there's a couple giant boulders next to the road if there was a small bridge that wouldn't be marked, if there was.
Correct.
So you're talking about, so if there had been like a quick drop where they'd put a bunch of gravel or something.
Right. Or in some instances, like here, if you go to the farm countries and fish some of the reservoirs down there, farmers built what they called wind fences. And a wind fence, they take all the trees when they clear the land to farm. They take all the trees and they pile them up in rows. And they're not straight as an arrow. They're zigzag rows. It's to prevent the wind from blowing across these fields. They're called wind fences. They're actually really good rabbit hunting over there too, but that's another show.
You a big rabbit hunter?
Yeah, I love rabbit hunting.
Wow. I was unaware of that. I learned something new every day 4.
We sneak a little out on every day 4.
Do you wear a hat? Do you wear one of those hats with the flappy ears and the
no, I just wear a blaze orange baseball hat.
And then you just tuck them in your vest.
And a blaze orange sweater with a blaze orange vest on, because I don't want to get shot.
All right. So anyway, we're on wind fences.
Right. So these wind fences are in farmlands, like on Watts Bar. I found a couple of wind fences underwater, and they're just piles of brush that the farmers did. So on those instances, you're going to go and you're going to run down the lake, and you're going to see a big farm, or you're going to see an old property that used to be a farm that might be developed now, and know that they probably left that stuff in the water when they flooded it.
And you're knowing this because of these 7.5 minute maps.
Well, those are visual sighting. The 7.5 minute maps will show you roads, um, buildings. It's not a photograph. It's a
Okay.
paper map with topography on it, but it'll show you roads and all that stuff. So
Okay.
you'll see where a neighborhood might have been or a cemetery might have been. You'll see that kind of stuff, and then hey, there's going to be headstones there. There's going to be roads over there. There's going to be a foundation over there.
Break out the DD-22s. We're bumping
Ex-
headstones.
exactly. We're going to the graveyard. Now, another thing when you're running down the lake, because a lot of the road beds are not on maps, they're just not on them. So you could be running down the lake, and then you'll see, as you're going down the lake, you'll see a split in the trees where all of a sudden, if you look at a certain angle, there's a gap in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
You know that's probably a roadbed or a pipeline or where they ran the wires underwater. And when they do that, they pile gravel on top of those things to keep them secure to the bottom. So they're gravel. There's going to be rock all on those things all the way across the lake. They don't leave those open and exposed. So that's another very, very good thing when you're to always watch. Now, sometimes, like I found a roadbed on Lay Lake, and I just happened to be. I looked behind me for something, and I saw a small split in the trees. I spun the boat back around, and I went to go see it. And sure enough, it was a roadbed, and it wasn't on any of the maps that I had. So you want to pay attention to what the land around you is doing, because that's how you find a lot of these sneakier spots, is just watching the land.
Mm-hmm.
And on this particular map, this roadbed here,
Not marked on the map.
not marked on the map, making sure I don't have a name on this map. Okay, so on this particular roadbed here, this used to be this.
Yep.
They when they flooded this thing, they had to get rid of this one.
But that one's still there. It's just underwater.
This one's still there.
That one's still there too.
But it's underwater, and this particular one is completely intact, actually, and it's got a beautiful bridge on it. So that's using what we can see on shore to help us find something underwater.
Yeah.
And then once you find it, you could side image it and see where the good stuff is, where the gnarly rock is. Parts of these roadbeds won't even exist anymore. 2 weeks ago, I idled one on a lake that I had not been on, and I can see it, but it wasn't anything worth looking at, but it showed up as a hot spot on side imaging, but there was no distinguishable boulders, old concrete block, nothing. It was just a little baby bump on it, basically. So it was probably an old logging road that got used quite a bit. It was hard packed down and is still surviving today. For the shallow guys, this shallow structure is another very important thing, because I structure fish every season of the year. There's always structural elements. Bass use them to go to and from, to stage, to stop on, et cetera, et cetera. So when I fish shallow, I'm always looking for small creek channel ditches, old foundations, all that is what I look for when I'm fishing shallow. So a dead giveaway is willow trees, willow bushes when you're shallow, willow bushes always grow on the edges of streams, always. And so I know that if I see rows of willow bushes, that there's a ditch there in between them. And so, yeah, so here's a perfect example. So this is the back of a flat that necks down, and you can see how the willow bushes, Matt, you're going to have to arrow that. You can see how the willow bushes come out of the stream, and notice they're on both sides. They come down and then they make a hard bend over there. So you know that that is a ditch that runs through there. So in the springtime, when the bass are going back there to spawn, that is so high percentage before they're actually on the beds, flipping, spinner baiting, et cetera, that's a money location right there. And the willow trees tell you everything you need to know. And so you have to pay attention to that, that stuff, because it's very important. Where, your hardwood trees are generally, like if you look at a forest, your hardwood trees form that canopy. They're going to be on the sides and on the top of those canopies. So you always, so you know what you're looking for. Based on wood, you know what I mean? And shallow wood's a little difficult because anything that's flooded, for the most part, they'll cut the hardwoods out because they log them, but they'll leave the stump root, they'll leave the stump bases in there. So if you see the willow trees, you know where the ditch goes, and then you can see the stumps all around it beyond the willow trees. So you want to pay attention to that stuff too. Are you doing your digging again? Are you digging, Matt?
I just got more stuff. When you're done with the presentation, we can go back and revisit some really good.
Let's revisit.
Are you ready to revisit?
Yeah, I want to see what you got.
You mentioned how the foundations, how there's typically a spread, like a farmhouse with there's stuff around it, right?
Correct.
And it led me to. And listen, just the shape of this, there will be people in Oklahoma who recognize this. This is not, I don't know how sneaky it is, so I didn't put any of the coordinates on it. I'm not going to say what name of the lake it is, but it's if you've seen it, you're like, oh, I know where that is. It's usually in about 4 to 5 foot of water. And
excellent.
It holds fish. There's been tournaments won off of it. But like I said, but it's a great representation of a spread.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so look at this. Look at all the angles and the different of your house. Then you've got your whatever the hell well. Is that a well?
Looks like it could have been a well.
Looks like it could have been a well. And then you have your outbuilding right there. Gravel, shallow, super flat across it. You can freaking catch the hell out of them on this stuff at certain times of the year.
That's perfect.
And that's those are all, each one's, that's big. It's large.
Yeah, that's kind of what you could expect when you find a foundation. There's going to be rubble elsewhere on that foundation.
All right, now I got to find one more thing, because like I said, this will talk about something else you talked about.
This intrigues me.
What?
I can't wait. I just can't wait to see what.
Well, a lot of this stuff I remember it, or I know it, right? But I don't know how it shows up on
on Google.
Right,
Earth.
On Google Earth. So this is a great way, and let me see if there's a different. Let me see if there's one where there's low water enough to where we can actually see the roadbed in here.
Yeah, so my Google Pro is not changing my photography by day. Is that because it's expired?
What do you mean by day?
Like, you know how you could change the time of year? The year and stuff?
Yeah, you just need to go up into your tools and do historical data.
Gotcha.
All right, this is perfect. All right. I don't give a dang about this one. Yeah, no, I don't care about this one.
What's this one referencing?
This is a roadbed that
Beauty.
you can see on the bank. You can see on the bank. I'll get like 2 people that hate me for this. I don't care. Look, you can see on the bank right
that's
here
great.
where
Dude, you're gonna laugh.
The road is here and it's clear, and you get here and you can't
There's
really
no
see,
picture up,
but you can see it on the other side right there where
we
it
lost
comes
the
out.
picture.
Oh,
You clicked on
there you
something.
go. But look, you can see on the other side where it comes up, and it goes all the way across. But right there's the clearing.
Perfect.
Of where that road used to be. And if you zoom in on it, just badass rock and rubble all along it. And you can tell that road bed is not on a map, but that road bed is very visible, because if you go forward, look, that's what it looks like. You can't even tell it's there. But you can tell when you go here and you go see that line right there.
It's perfect.
That line right there matches up with this line right here. And there's your road bed that you were talking about.
See that?
Those are
your
all
eyes.
4 different lakes, by the way, that we showed.
Yeah, so that's the whole key with doing the map work before you leave the house.
Okay, question on road beds though.
Fire.
While we're doing that, this is an issue that I ran into and have run into. You see the road bed going down into the lake. You see in the road bed on the other side of the cove coming out of the lake. You know there's a road bed there. How do you know where to start fishing on that road bed? To me,
that's actually good.
To me, it's very difficult. Like, what exactly? I know you mentioned you're looking for different stuff, but like, where are you going to start it? Are you going to start at the shallowest? Are you going to start in the middle? That's where I struggle.
Okay, it's going to be based solely and totally on time of year.
Okay.
If I know the bass are 0 to 8 feet, I'm going to the shallowest part of that road bed.
Okay.
If I'm in the summer and I'm structure fishing and I'm catching them 15 feet deep, I'm going to start looking at 10 feet. I'm going to start looking at 10 to 20 on that road bed, looking for good elements that are still like there's road beds like on Lake Norman, for example, where the bridge is totally, fully, 100% completely intact, but it's 50 feet deep.
Yeah.
60 feet deep. So, okay. It's a great picture for side imaging.
Yeah. You might catch one off of it in the dead of winter.
Right. It's a great picture for side imaging. But for the most part, it's, I don't want to say not fishable, because if it was on, one of the spotted bass lakes like Smith or Lanier, you could probably catch them on it at a certain time of the year. But so that's how I break down the road bed, based on the season I'm fishing and based on what depth I'm catching fish at.
Okay.
But I always look for something different on the road bed. There's going to be spots, like sometimes the topography will take the road bed down and then it comes back up on a hill again. I'll fish the one that comes back up on the hill. Because it's different. It's on a high spot away from the rest of it all. You know what I mean? So I just look for something different on it.
That's some juicy stuff, Frank.
Yeah, it's good. I just love structure fishing so much. I can't say that enough times.
You need to update. I have Google Earth Pro. What are you running? You running Google Earth Pro as well?
Yeah, I have Google Earth Pro, but it's not changing my.
Yeah, that's if you go into it under View, there'll be a little icon that says historical data.
Okay, so
click on that, and then you'll be able to go back.
Historical data under View.
I think it's under View. Let me check. It is. Of course, now it's going to take 30 minutes to pop. View.
Perfect.
Historical imagery. Historical imagery.
Excellent. I'm on it. I appreciate that.
All right. What else we got?
Speaking about historical imagery.
Hit us with it.
I made a map of a lake. And when I made this map, I spent the entire day doing nothing but idling around making my own map because I wanted an insanely accurate map for this. So I used, oh God, Navionics Live. And it was supposedly saves it as you go. And when I got home, I wanted to go over the map again. So I pulled it back up on my boat to look at it, and it was gone. And I don't know what I did wrong or if I did anything wrong.
Did you not hit save or something?
There was nothing came up to ask me to save it. Like nothing did. So I researched it and it said that it automatically saves to your unit, but it's not on my unit. And I was wondering, is it not on my unit or do I have to be back on that lake to get my GPS coordinates on there for this image to pop back up? I don't understand this. It's driving me crazy because I spent a lot of time making this map and now it's gone. And I need to know how to save them because I'm all about accuracy. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Are you looking it up?
No, I'm finding this one lake. Okay, I do not know where this is. I came across this. I think it's the coolest thing that shows the importance of historical imagery. Here, I'll show it. But it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I just like it. I don't know. I don't even know the name of this lake. But this is 1985.
Okay.
Got it?
I got it.
1996. That's the difference. 85. See this up in here?
Yeah, we're talking
blow your mind.
We're talking the water level.
Yeah, 96. 96, 2005.
Holy smokes.
I didn't even move it. Look at this. This is what's underwater. 2009, 2011, 2013, 2013 again, 2014, 2015, 2017, 2019, 2023. Is that not a cool?
Oh, that is slick.
But that's what it started at. I mean, if you were on the lake, that's what you'd see in 85. And then
all of a sudden, bammo. But here, the lake obviously got more water in it in 2022.
Yeah, I wonder what lake that is, because that is the Rio Grande. I like to just look at it's on the Colorado River. Oh, that's Elephant Butte. That's why I was looking at that. That's Elephant Butte.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's cool.
I have to get my historical imagery up and running because I love that stuff.
Yep.
Well, because they draw down tons of lakes across the country and you can get photos of drawdown periods. Yeah. And then find all kinds of neat stuff.
Yep. All right, you need to stay tuned to basszone.com and the BTL YouTube channel. We'll let you know. We're going to be live sometime in the near future. Supposedly me and you together in Ohio, potentially. If you listen to the last regular BTL, I did some on the water stuff. New video equipment, new technology, new audio.
Ooh.
Did you hear that? If you go back and listen, I mean, it sounds like me and you in studio, but we can be on the water.
Oh, that's money. So what do we do for cameras? Just set up GoPros everywhere?
No, I've got camera stuff too. You can't give out all the secrets because there's not. I mean,
okay.
There's a lot of shows in town now, if you know what I mean, Uncle Frank.
I think I do. Just hey, I'd like to shout out to everybody who watches this show and anybody who's new watching the show. Got to give you guys a shout out.
There you go, Uncle Frank shout out.
Is that good? Just a shout out? I don't have to say thanks.
It's a shout out. No, we're giving away a bunch of stuff. We've given away stuff before, so shout out.
And there's way more. Hey, look, there's
more shout outs where those came from.
Yeah, I'm just going to be real honest. We're going to do a lot of things in the near future. I've been very busy creating new colors, and I think we're going to have a signature series coming out pretty soon. So
Ooh.
be aware.
And as always, day 4 listeners, there will be opportunities to get your hands on things before, order things before. Like I said, we've been through the learning and growing curves with the Color 7.
Exactly. We sure did. My favorite part.
Yeah.
My favorite part of Color 7 was when we were making fun of breaking the sight down.
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be cool if we just froze it? No, it wouldn't be cool because it took 6 months to straighten it out.
And then we did freeze it. That's power. That's power.
That was good stuff. And heck, it's already, I mean, I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but it's already July. We're 3 months away from epic crappie action in Oklahoma. And I think all I have to do is say, hey, I got these 3 days open and you're in the truck headed this way.
Dude, I'll be halfway there before we hang the phone up.
All right. Great stuff today.
I have to get some of those long rods, dude. I've got
all of them. I told you, just tell me what you want and I'll have them sent your way.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know a guy who knows a guy who's friends with the guy.
That's perfect. Everybody needs to know a guy.
All right. This has been another edition of Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. Day 4, number 122. We'll be back live next week, everybody. See ya.